evening. Welcome to the Pinstripes After Dark. I am Uncle Tats, and I am here with my brother Sunil. And hope everybody had a good day. Hope everybody took a little bit of time in remembrance of 9/11. We didn't talk about it this morning, but it goes without saying that today was a very somber day across the country and across
Yes.
the world for that matter. So to all the families, we didn't want to ignore you, but it's hard to talk about, but it does need to be brought up. So
Yeah.
to all the
And
families that were affected, our prayers. 22 years later, they still go out to you. Um, but listen, yeah, we're gonna do something different, Sunil. We're gonna try
yeah.
having a little bit of fun. We're gonna divert a little bit from the baseball talk, but let's get
Yep.
to some of these comments real quick and give everybody a roll call. Brad, what's going on? Jonathan, NFE, Maz is in the building. How's everybody doing? And this was the first comment, right?
Oh
Some
my
of these,
God, Brian.
right, I apologize if I scared your daughter, but uh, hey,
Tats, what'd
that's
you
life.
do? Turn into what did you do? Turn into the Hulk or something?
Did you see the video?
I This morning I stepped into the middle of it. I didn't see the full thing.
Yeah, no, I tweeted out a video from the stadium when
Oh, okay.
they were getting no hit into the 10th inning, and I just completely lost my mind. And there are a couple other videos that I still have to put up on Facebook for that me and my
Don't worry,
nephew took
Tats.
the.
I'll tag you in a tweet to Jake to the MCU director. I'm like, this is your next Hulk candidate in case if Mark Ruffalo backs out.
No, it's yeah.
Just messing.
What's going on, Jonathan? All right, you got. Let's pull up some comment. NFE. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Good evening. We got Maza in the building. Maza, how's everything going? Glad you're able to spend a little time with us. And of course, Dev Finch, we always appreciate you in the chat. And I've had a long freaking day, so I'm really looking forward to this. Yeah, Tat's out here scaring my man. Hey, you know what? Yeah, Dev saw the video, but
Well,
sometimes
NFC Cowboys are out there scaring the NFL too. So Tats has got company. He's in great company. I'm just gonna say.
before we start getting into a lot of the, I want to talk very briefly
Mhm.
about Florial,
Yeah.
but I really want to bring up really quick, right? How much the start of tonight's game with the Jets and the Bills was there a more Jets way to start their season than 4 plays in, Aaron Rodgers going down and might have an issue with his Achilles?
Well, to answer your question,
How how more Jet can you be?
well, I'm going to channel Brad Jewis's comment in answering your question. He says, I feel sorry for Jets fans. They were so hyped about Rodgers. Well, I feel so sorry for Stephen A. Smith, my actual name counterpart in today's stream session, who actually shits on the Cowboys left, right, and center. They're saying he's an accident waiting to happen. Uh, Maza, no. Sorry, Maza. This
Everybody,
one,
I warned him.
I'm going to disagree with you egregiously, Maza. You basically must be a deprived Giants fan. No, no, no,
Maybe,
no, no. The Niners are not scary.
listen,
They played the Steelers. The Steelers aren't even in the same zip code as a playoff team. Okay, Brad. So stop it. You're living too far down under to even know what you're talking about.
I mean, I've seen the run from the Cowboys in the 90s because I'm old as shit. All
Yeah.
right. We all remember what that was like with Aikman and Emmett Smith, and those were
Hmm.
great teams, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But not they weren't good enough to make me a football fan. But
Right.
they were, that was a great era when you look overall about with sports, right? music, movies, TV shows. I think the '90s really pretty much had it all. So it's yeah. What's going on, MH? It's yeah, LI. What's going on? I saw you sneak in there, but the '90s really were. That was the premier decade for everything, and we're really going to dive. I really want to dive into what you lived through or remember hearing if you weren't old enough for it. Um, with whatever. Here's the deal, right? I want to get this. I want to get this out of the way because I really want to have some fun with music, movies, TV. I really want to strip it down and just kind of the Yankees broke our hearts enough. We're all tired of repeat. Not that we're tired. We want to get away from the conversations, at least just for an hour or so. So, but how well? How I'm trying to think how to put this right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say it's about fucking time that Florial is getting his shot.
Absolutely.
Right.
No,
I
completely agree.
We've been waiting all year for this.
Yeah.
And now that the season's shot, now you're going to bring up a left. Now you're bringing in an actual outfielder instead of using IKF.
And be prepared. And be prepared for LI Yankee King to put it on repeat. I told you so.
Yeah, and LI has had the way the season has gone. LI has had he's got receipts, right? He's pulling them all out, and he's just throwing out middle fingers to everybody that was getting on his case.
He's going full Kid Rock.
LI was right about a lot. LI was right. Sorry. Yeah, you know what? With LI in the chat, maybe after we talk about Florial a little bit, maybe we'll even talk some wrestling. Because that was another, that's something else that we could talk about to kind of get away from baseball for a little while.
Can I quickly address Jonathan's comments? Jonathan, he's saying Giants OL needs to play better. Giants have no line. Okay, so just like the Yankees have no outfield except for Judge, the Giants have no line. Zero. Mm-hmm. There's a TikTok video I really feel like sharing out here. It's hilarious.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's everybody gets all hyped up for football, right? Mm-hmm. And real quick, right? We're all over the place. It's Pinstripes after dark. I just had a long day at work. It's the Yankee game got rained out, so there's really we can't even recap the game a little bit, right? But in the football game tonight, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody at the end of that shift, they're all hanging out in the break room, and they got the TV on. They're watching the game, and I walk in, and I'm like, "Oh, you guys watching the Met game?" I said, "It's going into extras. It's tied up." Mm-hmm. I says, "Change the channel." Right? Mm-hmm. So they're all going. The whole room just turned and looked at me like it's Monday Night Football.
Yeah,
it's it was the Bills had the ball and it was first down at that point.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to a session of Ignorant Tats here tonight, talking about the Mets on Monday Night Football.
Well, hey, I was listening to the Met game at work. I do not hide the fact that I don't watch football. I pay attention enough to follow conversations, but it's I'm a baseball fan. It could have been Cubs Reds. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's I want as much baseball as I can 12 months of the year. The reaction from everybody though was fucking priceless. I wish I would have recorded myself walking in, just that they all are going to have to go to the chiropractor for whiplash tomorrow.
Actually, can I give you a more hilarious take of what that could have been? You ever seen a commercial for Southwest Airlines? Want to get away? That would have been the perfect "want to get away" moment. You cannot get any more glorious than that. I'm sorry, Tats. I gotta give you that
No,
one.
but it's when you think about everybody has their own thing that they're into.
Mhm.
I want everybody to drop in the comment. All right,
Yeah.
when in your high school years,
Hmm.
what was your favorite band to listen to, your favorite TV show to watch, and your favorite movie? Right. So,
Yeah.
so Neil, let's start with. Yeah, I know you're a big movie buff. I know you like to reference movies a lot.
Yeah.
What was your favorite? All right, let's talk about our favorite movies. So, what was
Yeah.
yours?
Top Gun. Straight up. It's not
I
even.
never.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with that one. And I saw Maverick last year. My wife gets all over me. He's like, "How many fucking times are you going to switch back and forth between those sequels?" I mean, it's just one of those feeler type movies that you no matter how many times you watch it, it's I'm lost for the word, but it's very engaging. Oh, and by the way, just kind of quickly getting off topic, two pieces of news from tonight on Monday Night Football. Word on the street is that Stefan Diggs basically is reiterating his intentions to want out of Buffalo. That's one. And this was my friend reading the update from ESPN, basically saying that they showed a replay video for Aaron Rodgers. Condolences to Jets fans. They showed his calf popping, which basically is an indication of a torn Achilles. For a 40-year-old, that's awful news. And for the Jet season, it's not what you want. I'm leveraging a little Joe Girardi here. It's not what you want.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
no, I never got into like I've seen it. Yeah, what's going on? We're talking about that. So, um, Top Gun. I've seen it. It's a great movie, right? I can't take it away from that.
Yeah.
I'm just, I'm not a big fan of Tom Cruise. I just, he
I
annoys
will
the shit out of me.
I will say this: Top Gun, the older one. I mean, there was a lot of technology. Uh, I guess the best way of putting it is technology deprived technology availability. Simply put, so they couldn't really get the realness out of the jet fighter scenes. Whereas by making the sequel here in to basically come out in
Yeah,
2020,
yeah,
but it got delayed due to COVID into 2022. With the availability of what Hollywood has at its disposal to emulate, as close to realness as possible,
yeah.
Top Gun Maverick essentially wound up being what the real Top Gun should have been. So basically, with all the sort of realities behind what flying an F-16 or F-18 jet fighter would be like, you saw that in Maverick.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would recommend? I'm not a big movie guy. Right? I
Right.
have my favorites,
Hmm.
and I can watch them on repeat over and over. And
Yeah.
you know, it's one of
Well.
those. I remember being asked one time
Hmm.
if you were locked in a room
Hmm.
for a year and you could only have one movie that plays on the screen on loop. That's
Well,
your favorite. That would be
um,
your, like what would your go to? Like
so
if you
I
had
I
that
really
situation.
I really have two here. All right, Top Gun
Okay.
is at the one spot. At the second spot, you absolutely can't go wrong with Sylvester Stallone's Rocky series, except for number five. Number five was a little off, and beyond that, Rocky Six and all the other movies after that. Sometimes you have to let a good thing die, is what I have to say.
Yeah.
Rocky Four was basically like yesterday's Cowboys Giants game. The
No,
Giants.
see, I liked Rocky Four.
Yeah,
I don't know,
yeah, but get the analogy
but
here.
that should have been the end of it.
Yeah, get the analogy here. All right. So the Giants
Yeah.
had that first drive. It was basically like Apollo Creed taking swipes at Drago. But then, once Drago got pissed, game on, game over. And yesterday, unfortunately, was an entire 1 hour football game. It was basically an elongated version of that fight. That first fight between Apollo Creed and Ivan Drago, barely lasted like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. Not taking in the into consideration the pregame, the pre-match histrionics and theatrics that they were showing with the "I Live in America" song, with Apollo Creed's character dancing and whatnot.
No, it's
Yeah,
like with movies like Rocky Four, and I'm gonna tell you my movie if I was locked in a room, what it would be in a second,
yeah, sure.
right? I'll give you a hint. It was already mentioned in the chat. Okay,
Uh, Mentioned in the
but
chat.
all right, with Rocky Four, it was the perfect movie for that time period in this country.
Yes, yeah,
You
the
know,
Cold War, the Cold War.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it kind of, it was like that.
Hmm.
It was just pretty much the perfect movie for that time frame. It
Yeah.
was that movie that everybody could rally behind.
Hmm.
Really, bring up all the patriotism.
Yeah.
If I was locked in a room for a year with only one movie on repeat,
Fight Club,
Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles. Damn.
I I love anything. Well, Mel Brooks is a fucking genius. They need to make sure that guy never fucking dies.
Yeah.
But Blazing Saddles would be my movie that I could.
Yeah.
That's it. I could
Yeah.
watch that all the time.
Yeah.
My backup movie
Hmm.
would be The Godfather Part Two.
Yeah. Godfather, you can't go wrong. That's an epic. That's a classic.
There's so many classic movies. The other one that I really like that is not the most popular movie, but anybody that's seen it is
Hmm.
one of those. Oh yeah, I could. It makes you want to watch it when you hear the name of it.
Yeah.
Mallrats. I thought
What?
Mallrats was fucking
Oh God.
hilarious.
Yeah.
This Jay and Silent Bob, awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Kevin Smith is a fucking cinematic genius. He's
Ha-
another one I like his movies.
have you seen any of the Short Circuit movies with the
Yeah.
robot? Yeah.
Yep. Johnny
Yeah.
Five. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I was the kid in high school. People would basically mimic the Indian character from that movie on.
Yeah, Terminator was a good series too, Jonathan.
I'll be
But
back.
yeah, Goodfellas. I mean, there's so many movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, Borat voice.
Who's got the Borat voice?
Yeah, I don't know who that
NFE.
was.
Who's got the Borat voice? Entice me a little. Yeah. Fill me in on who you think has got the Borat voice. Oh, and I did not touch on the music bands thing, by the way. So I was more for the music band point of view. You would probably wind up calling me Johnny Lawrence with Skin Pigment, because that entire playlist from Cobra Kai that's on Netflix was basically what I would listen to. Yeah. So if I ever play any of that stuff on in the car while we're driving to and from Austin, or if my son's with me, my son will be like, "Dad, can you please turn off the Cobra Kai soundtrack? Enough already." It's anything and everything from like Rat, Poison, Crew, Van Halen. Although Van Halen, I don't recall ever seeing Van Halen in the Cobra Kai soundtrack. Rio Speedwagon. So that entire Cobra Kai soundtrack is like glory for me. And I'm just super pissed that the SAG-AFTRA strike is still going on, the Screen Actors Guild strike, because I'm like chomping at the bit if we had to take this to a third level of discussion, like what's your favorite series to binge on Netflix or any of the streamers? Cobra Kai all day, every day. I mean, I could watch 1 through 5 on repeat. There's like 10 episodes in each. It's like ten.
Yeah, I don't,
It's like 5 hours worth of content in each season. So there's 25 hours already.
yeah, Jonathan's like Van Halen was in Back to the Future.
Yeah.
No, Dev was a Friends, a fan of Friends. We're gonna get to the TV shows a little bit, but I was segueing like from the movies into the music.
Mm-hmm.
I want. What are you? You talking about like the music to Cobra Kai?
Yeah.
Drop in the chat too. What was your favorite? Wait, like let's talk about our favorite soundtracks. Like what soundtracks really just made which ones were your favorites?
The Rocky soundtrack, of course.
I think one of the best soundtracks ever was the Forrest Gump soundtrack. I thought that was like a CD, 2 disc all across all the decades. I thought that was probably one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard. And the soundtrack to The Crow is fucking awesome. Because The Crow is also a really well done movie.
Oh, and Effie is pinpointing his own Borat accent voice. Okay, I get it. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, see Brad, say it almost fire. Yep, yeah. Say it almost fire after my wife's hot there, Brad. Be careful. But no, it's I think sometimes soundtracks go so they really do get underrated, or you don't really get the acknowledgement. The Tommy Boy soundtrack. What? Okay, Maximum Overdrive, AC/DC.
You're gonna love the one I'm gonna put in the chat. You're gonna love the one I'm putting in the chat.
Beverly Hills Cop. All right.
Yeah. The piano music, man. The keyboard music.
Eli is almost, he's turning into my twin a little bit. But, I see a lot of metal, Kill Switch Engage was awesome. I've seen them a few times.
Eli commented the chat. Are you a big Cobra Kai fan or no?
Yeah, I'm curious. Beverly Hills Cop was that Saturday Night Fever. That was a good one. As far as like a specific genre, like if you were like a big hip hop fan, like when I was in school, the Juice soundtrack to the movie Juice, that was the big soundtrack for that.
Yes. Yes, good one.
The what was the Forrest Gump soundtrack was a big one, but also the Strangeland soundtrack with Dee Snider's horror movie. That was a big soundtrack that went around, in the metal
scene.
Hung up.
Jonathan touched on a good one. Eddie Murphy, Coming to America. Did you see the sequel that came out like, I don't know, 20, 30 years later? That thing was kind of a little lame. I hate the fact that some movies, when they wait 30 years to make a sequel, doesn't fit. The only one exception right now is, like I mentioned, about how the technology in Hollywood, what they use to make the movies nowadays, the way it evolved. The only movie that really worked was Top Gun Maverick, as far as a sequel 30 years after the fact.
Yeah. See, Brad, this is cool. I like that. But and Li saying you never heard of Cobra Kai.
Oh my God, Li, you failed. You epically failed, my God.
No, I call bullshit. There's no way he hasn't heard of Cobra Kai.
Dude, I'm going Angel Hernandez on your end. You're out of here.
No, it's one of the things I like is we always talk about like everybody's trying to figure out like whose woke up song is going to be. So I like how music just kind of integrates to everything in life. I've always been a big music fan. I had my own band for years, but so music is always something I always go back to. What's going on, William? especially like when there's nothing else going on, like when there's no baseball at all.
Mhm.
You know, that's when I go back through the old catalog, and I'll throw on. But I listen to a lot of different genres. So if I want to know what everybody's. What do you prefer to listen to? Like, what are you listening to nowadays compared to what you did in high school? Because high school I was more of the grunge metal scene between Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. Then it was like Pantera, White Zombie, Metallica, all that stuff. Megadeth. Now I'm like more. I actually like when my wife and I when we're either we're on a road trip or we're out on the boat. It's a lot of country music, 80s party music. Mixing it in there. Um, but country is very similar to Irish folk music, which I also enjoy. So, what genres do you guys prefer? What do you guys like to listen to? Like, like if you were to put a CD on a CD, Jesus Christ, if you, if you,
Screaming, screaming.
if you oh, I'm so fucking old. Whip out the 8 tracks,
I'm
right?
old. I'm older than you, man. What are you talking about old for?
Yeah, I remember my father had a fucking 8 track stereo built into the workshop in the basement, and we used to play all these 8 tracks. It was awesome. But like what what do you like to listen to in your downtime when there's no sports you're catching up on?
So I've got a 83-inch Android TV with the soundbar hooked up downstairs. So I go to YouTube Music on that, or I can just go Google Cast from my phone and whatnot, and I'll just go with like the '80s Hair Nation, rock bands
Yeah,
like Dokken and whatnot, or I might go into a movie soundtrack situation. I'll play like Eye of the Tiger or the Top Gun anthem or
there you go.
any of the montages from Rocky, basically. Yeah,
I might have to stop calling you Top Gun.
yeah, you can call me Maverick, man. I don't care. Maverick without hair.
Because like they don't say, call me anything you want, just don't call me late for supper, right?
Yeah. Read what I said to Eli about he's like, oh, so now Peyton List is in it. I'm suddenly interested in Cobra Kai. So after that, read what I said back to Eli.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ella, you bring up SpongeBob, right? Have
Oh
you
my
seen
god. Oh my god.
Have you seen Corey Taylor, his live clip of singing the SpongeBob theme song at a concert? It's fucking. If you haven't, you have to hear the whole crowd going crazy. It is awesome.
Okay, actually going back one step on one of your song and one of your questions about what am I going to put in, like if I'm bored and stuff. One of the other things I you know that got me back interested into Queen was the Bohemian Rhapsody movie from 2018. Basically, the Live Aid scene at the end where they have the 20-minute long concert, and they have a YouTube video which I'm gonna find. I'm gonna send it to you. They have the side by side of the actual Freddie Mercury on one side and Rami Malek on the other side. And
Okay.
yeah, yeah, and they have it basically. You probably would want to put in like 360 surround headphones if you've got any, and listen to this. If you don't have a good enough like open sound bar or whatever, something with like Dolby Atmos capabilities and whatnot. Li 24 is still not that young. Okay, stop it.
Yeah. I mean, I got he's right in the middle of where my kids are. My oldest is going to be 30 in a month, and then my youngest is going to be 22 in December. So
Yeah.
he's right in the middle there.
Ally, my
oh,
son is
no,
Ally, my son's 19. He's watched Top Gun. He's watched Cobra Kai. He's watched Karate Kid. Okay, so don't start with the 24-year-old.
see, yeah, Janet Jackson. Let me tell you, Janet Jackson when she was in her prime. Oh my
Yeah,
God! Right? Everybody
yeah.
had that. Everybody had the poster. I don't even have to
What was
describe
that
it.
album?
You
What
all
she
know what I'm
had?
talking about.
What was that album she had with the song Black Cat and Miss You Much and whatever
Ah,
it was? It was
Rhythm Nation.
yeah, Rhythm Nation. Yes, yeah.
Yep. I'm older than your kids, Tats and Sunil. Well,
NFE, my
yeah.
son's 19. He's a sophomore in college, so he was born in 2004.
No, but
Mhm.
let's see. What is this? If you're Uncle Tax, I'm Grandpa Vet. Yeah. Well, I mean, I am a grandfather. You know, but
Yeah,
yeah. No,
retired war
it's
vet.
like
He's a
Jigga always. On the morning response. That's why
mm,
they're always saying, Uncle Grandpa Tats. But
yeah,
nah, it's Li was more into gaming. No, I
mm,
never got into gaming. It
yeah,
just wasn't my thing. It
yeah,
was more, yeah, Mariah Carey in the '90s. William,
yeah.
absolutely.
Mariah Carey. Yeah, if you didn't want
But she,
the Hair Nation bands, then Mariah Carey is a good go-to.
it's yes. You were born in '60. I was born in '79.
Yeah, so
So
I'm in right in the middle of you two. War vet was born in '68. I'm 5 years after him.
now, William, you bring up the Misfits. Was that also with the years with Glenn Danzig? That's what I'm because a lot of people are, in, they don't that was the only era of them they followed. But the Misfits were an awesome punk band.
Hmm.
Um, the I was more I liked the Misfits because of the Halloween vibe. But yeah, the Misfits were awesome. Uh,
Yeah.
it's when you know there's so many bands or artists or it's hard especially when as you get older and you start really getting into a lot of different things. The music you were into, like when I grew up, like the hair met,
Hmm.
it was like Bob Seger, Tom Petty, Neil Young, like that type of stuff. And then as you get older, like I remember the first cassette I ever bought
Hmm.
was Poison's Flesh and Blood album, right? And I
Hmm.
thought it was great. But I mean, looking back, CC DeVille was he was a crazy guitar player.
Yeah.
But Brett Michaels, he was. You look back, he was so corny. Like that was almost like the industry put them all together and said, like a boy band. It's all right. Let's see what happens. But when
Interestingly
you heard
enough, this interestingly enough, this morning on NFL Network, one of the guys on the
Chris
Insider
Cross,
show, yeah, he brought up Brett Michaels as his favorite Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Yeah.
Millie Vanilli.
Oh yeah. That
Girl,
basically
it's true. It's true. It's true. It's true.
Milli Vanilli, the joke around them is they invented the Control C and Control V keyboard operation, copy and pasting stuff, and basically plagiarizing. And
Yeah. I
anybody
remember
here, New Kids on the Block?
my cousin
Hmm.
to this day still goes crazy for New Kids on the Block.
Oh God, yeah. I was down in Austin one weekend when my son was going back to school, and I saw one of the arenas actually have a show announcement date for New Kids on the Block. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me! Who still listens to that?
No, it was. I always anything that was rock related was kind of like where I went.
Hmm.
You know. Um, but the crossover from rock, where I started like really getting into more of the rap and R&B and stuff,
Hmm.
was Anthrax and Public Enemy. collaborating.
Yeah,
And I was like,
Anthrax.
you know,
Yep.
um, Run DMC with Aerosmith. We started to
Yes.
get those
Walk this
crossovers.
way. Walk this
You know,
way.
I
Yeah.
mean, that was
Yeah.
the big, but it was Anthrax and Public Enemy. I was like, holy shit! Like this is
So
so cool.
so when I first started getting into like the heavier stuff like Metallica and like in my middle of high school days and whatever, I had the ever classic. Everybody probably knows this shirt. This one that you can't miss. It was the Metallica "Metal Up Your Ass" shirt with the knife sticking out of the
Uh,
toilet. Yeah.
yeah.
So my dad's like, "Who sticks a knife out of the toilet?"
Wait. So William, I'm not. I'm laughing because I'm having a good time. But that was your first concert. It was crazy. Went with like six girls too. It was insane. Well, I hope one of them you actually got something out of. Right. Let's put it that way. But
Okay. Yeah,
but
retired
also
war vet got on Guns N' Roses, L.A. Guns and San Francisco Roses. I remember that. The Crew, Warrant, AC/DC, Kiss. You can't go wrong with Kiss. I mean, come on. Kiss.
no,
Kiss was okay. The goofy thing around Kiss was the end of Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventure, the sequel, the second movie, when they had the "God gave rock and roll to you" ending. Yeah,
no, I'm not. I never got into Kiss. I couldn't. I've tried. I
yeah.
just never did it for me. They
Gene
didn't really move.
Simmons. Yeah,
I mean, great
Gene.
guys,
Paul
phenomenal
Stanley, Gene
performance,
Simmons.
but then it just it sounded too. It just sounded phony.
Well, yeah,
Like,
because it was the makeup band thing from like the early '70s, and then they got out of that phase, in the mid '70s, mid to late '70s.
so, Jonathan, what was the one concert you didn't have a choice to go to? Because what was your first? What was everybody's first concert? What was your? My first concert was I went to see. Um, it
Mhm.
was in '97, and I went to see Fear Factory in Manhattan, and it was insane. The best
Mhm.
prom I ever went to.
Yeah, and if he's right, you can't go wrong with Jimi Hendrix.
Nope.
Voodoo, Voodoo Child, the 16, what is it, the 15 or 16-minute version?
Oh
The
yeah.
one, yeah, the one
Oh, the
that
Beach
goes on
Boys.
and
What's
on
wrong with
for,
the Beach Boys, Jonathan?
yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong. No shame in the Beach Boys. No.
I, I
Try
got
over.
one for the crowd. Hold on. Here we go.
Goodness, you lucky bastard. Now, is
I
that the
mean,
original lineup
the original lineup meaning.
for Leonard Skinner?
So the joke goes,
Was it before or after the crash?
uh, you can say this was from like the late '80s. So I don't remember the crash.
Okay.
Yeah, I never paid attention to that one. I was more of a music person, but the evergreen joke around Leonard Skinner is if you could use an old flip phone's keyboard to tap out to Freebird, you might be a redneck.
Um, see,
Yeah.
though, I've seen one. I've seen one rap show,
Yeah.
and that was Wu Tang with Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good
Was the
one.
one rap concert I went to, and it was interesting.
Mhm.
It really, actually, to be honest, the it was really cool to see because you had all the rockers that were there for Rage Against the Machine, and all
Yeah.
the rap guy, the rap fans for Wu Tang, and everybody had a good time. There was no problems. There was no fighting.
Hmm.
Everybody was just kind of feeling the vibe.
Hmm.
Beastie Boys is another one. Let's see. FJ here. His first concert was the Kinks. Kinks were good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know they used to. I've seen a few video clips of them when they used to play CBGBs. Um,
Yeah.
and the opening act was Tommy Shaw, who was the lead for Styx. I've seen Styx. Styx is actually really. They are very good live.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see. Who else did he see here? Nas, Jay Z, Lauren Hill with Nas. Bone Thugs and Harmony was such an underrated rap group. They really were. So underrated.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So let's move to the let's go back to TV shows. Right.
Yep.
This is kind of
Mm-hmm.
you know we're at about 40 minutes here.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson 5. Yeah, William, keep throwing them out there because you're hitting every one of them. I didn't care for Michael Jackson's solo career.
Mm-hmm.
Never really felt it.
Mm-hmm.
But can't deny that he was an entertainer. Yeah, that career took a dive after Easy
Yeah.
E passed. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
Queensryche.
Queen. Oh my God, Queen's right. Yeah, there was Bobby Brown. Yeah, I remember
Mm-hmm.
the first time that I heard um, NWA, and I was like,
Oh, niggas with attitudes. Yeah. Yeah.
oh my God, hey, you're gonna
Yeah.
get us in trouble using that.
That's what.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
why I
like,
try.
you're
That's why
gonna
I
get
try
my
to stay
fucking
very
email show.
soft. Very soft.
But that's it. If we're not here tomorrow, if they shut our channel down, it's all Sunil's fault. But no, it's the other big part of when you were growing up and through high school was just the. This was before streaming for you,
Mm-hmm.
whatever youngsters are here. Watching a TV show was a fucking event. You wrapped your whole schedule around making sure you were in front of the TV for that half hour or whether it was an hour block. Um, Vanilla Ice. All right, you're losing me now, William. It was nice. So we already have some TV shows in the chat here.
Yeah.
Um,
Happy Days, Odd
Jonathan,
Couple. Yes.
yeah, Jonathan was there into True Blood. Um,
Welcome Back,
look,
Cotter was like my elementary school days.
Welcome Back, Cotter. Wow.
Yeah.
Mork and Mindy. I have the whole
Yeah.
box set. I have the
Oh
whole
my
set.
God. Retired war vet.
Happy Days.
Don't even go there with the Dukes of Hazzard. Come on now.
That was what?
Yeah.
That show was a classic. I can't believe they took that
I know.
off the.
Yeah, for
That's it.
all political reasons, basically. I'm not going to
Yep.
get into it. But
Well,
I'll
believe
just
me,
leave
at
that
least
right there. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I know that's one of the reasons why I'm gonna rewind a little. That's one of the reasons why Blazing Saddles is still one of my favorite movies because that's the one movie that they can't fuck with.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They can't remake it and try to change it.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. Same thing with one of my favorite TV shows was All in the Family. I used to love watching that growing up.
Mm-hmm.
With Archie Bunker and going back and forth with Jefferson. I'm like that was classic. And it
Sanford
wouldn't have worked.
Son, Benson.
Yep. It would not have worked without that cast. They were perfect for those roles.
We mentioned all of these, but how dare we forget the biggest one of all? Watch what I'm going to put into the chat.
All right. Yep, I had the toy car and everything with the lights.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's not Night Rider. It was that.
Now we know what Elon was watching when he developed concepts like full self-driving and all that.
Yeah. Golden Girls, the 18. I got that. I got all of those on DVD too. Yeah, the A Team was awesome. I refuse to watch the movie remake. It's not
Yeah.
the same. I just think, yeah, Fresh Prince of Bel Air NFE. I saw that. MacGyver was another one. I liked MacGyver. Um,
They tried to actually remake that, and they had it
yeah,
up
it
until a
didn't
few
work.
years ago. Yeah, for
Did
MacGyver.
not work.
Yeah, it did not land well.
Um,
Nope. They also tried to
yeah, but those
do.
those Saturday night shows, FJ,
Yeah.
that was before the Saturday Night Live. You know
Mm-hmm.
that's what took kind of killed those shows.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Mary Tyler Moore, she
Mm-hmm.
was she started the whole variety show thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think she might not have been the first, but she perfected it. And
Yeah.
I think everybody's trying to chase her from then.
Yeah.
Gomer Pyle. Oh yeah, Andy Griffith. That's another great show.
Retired war
Um,
vet touched on the golden one of all, MASH.
yep.
If you try to remake MASH right now, that short guy with the glasses, if you tried to reprise his role, look no further than Aaron Boone. I kid you not.
Now you would when we were on the phone earlier,
Yeah.
right, you had thrown out who would play who in movies and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
right. Look, I think they need to hear your casting roles.
Okay, so if Hollywood were to ever come out with a movie based on the current uh 2022, 2023 NFL quarterbacks, who would you cast for each of the 32 teams? So I'll start with a few and you guys can dig in the chat. So I'll dig in with the obvious few. Chris Pratt as Josh Allen. Okay? Moving on. Aaron Rodgers, you got Jake Gyllenhaal.
That's what I
Yeah,
like.
yeah. And then if you want to move on to Justin Herbert in the LA Chargers, Chris Hemsworth, the guy who plays Thor on the Marvel, MCU movies, basically. And then if you want to touch on who else was there? Uh, I'm drawing a blank now. Tom Brady, you probably need to go with like a blimp Ben Affleck. I don't know. Dak Prescott from the Cowboys, Tracy Morgan. Uh, if you want to touch on uh, uh, the Ravens quarterback, Jackson, you can get Samuel L. Jackson with dreadlocks for that one. If you want to touch, and this one, of course, you guys might want to cover your ears for this one. Okay, turn back the clock to the Dumb and Dumber days for Jim Carrey to be casted as Daniel Jones, because if you look at Jim Carrey's character in Dumb and Dumber and Daniel Jones, put the two photos together side by side, perfect match.
You're asking for it now. You were doing good to me.
Hey, I mean, Giants fans were bringing a lot of smoke on the offseason, how the gap is closed between them and the Cowboys. Yeah, I can see the gap closing. It's the gap between you and going to take a shit in the commode.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah,
if you call yourselves a legitimate NFL team and you give up a 40 burger in week 1, and you just signed your quarterback to an egregious $40 million deal a year. That's what the AAV is on that. William, I pray Aaron Rodgers is out for the season too, but you got to feel for Jets fans. They've been permanently socially distanced from the Vincent Lombardi Trophy since 1969.
I don't hope he's out for the season. Like I said, I'm not a football fan. I don't have You
NFE
know,
keeps bringing up 1995, so I'm going to bring a little 1995 into the picture. What happened in Week 1, NFE? Who did the Giants play and lose 35 nothing to in Week 1 of the NFL season that year? The Cowboys. And what happened at the end of that season? The Cowboys won their 5th Super Bowl. So,
yeah. Jonathan was asking about the next open panel. Right, and I know, Jonathan. I got it. So we do have to do another one. I'll look real quick at the schedule.
while you're doing that, I'm just going to address
Yeah,
William M's comment.
yeah.
Giants got murdered too, man. Okay, well, William M, there's a moratorium out for that one. You just got to hope they come out and don't actually act like the deceased in Week 2 at Arizona. And then you got San Francisco, so it doesn't get any prettier for you guys. There is a potential for either 1-2 or 0-3 for you guys. And the way you guys are talking, a lot of the noise about the Giants and Cowboys being that it's starting to look a little bit more tilted.
Yeah, but you know what? It's hard to talk shit as a Cowboys fan, right? And this is obviously from somebody that I have no vested interest to any team,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just from being an observer, right?
Right.
It's yeah. Well, Brad, I was trying to check the Yankee schedule to see when there was not a game that was going to be broken down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, shut the fuck up. No, you had you had your run, like I said earlier, with Aikman and
The
um,
triplets.
yeah, was it
Aikman,
Aikman?
Irvin, and Smith.
Evan Smith. I
Yeah.
want to say Elliott, but I knew that wasn't it.
No.
Um, and it was great. It created a whole new generation of fans. But you
Mm-hmm.
haven't done shit since then. You know,
Well,
you look at the Romo years, you're like, all right, he was supposed to be, he's regarded as this,
mm-hmm.
genius, as a quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
and it hasn't worked.
You know what it shows you,
Meanwhile,
right? You know what it shows you, right? Basically, you can have
Cowboys done.
no, you can have all the talent on paper, but if you show up without the right attitude on the field, it means nothing. And that's the case with any sport, any team sport.
Yeah, it's. All right, so Neil, Brad's asking who put you out of last year's playoffs.
And who
I
are we
can't.
going to get revenge on this year? That's all I got to say, Brad, because the 2 years that you're talking about, we had a Kellen Moore run offense. He was our OC. Now we got McCarthy running and calling the plays. So look out, because I think it's in week 5 or week 6 this year. We go to Levi Stadium and we're going to take the Niners' pants off.
But Jonathan did. All right, I was looking at the Yankees have some off days on Mondays coming up. Tomorrow's gonna tonight was postponed.
Mm-hmm.
Like More Root mentions, tomorrow's a doubleheader. Next Monday,
Mm-hmm.
we'll schedule the open panel.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be an off day. There's no game that night. The upper deck, they'll be breaking down the weekend series. So I think that'll be a good day to do an open panel because there's no game that night to analyze. So we'll do it then. This way, we can squeeze 1 or 2 more in before the end of the season. Here's a question that I had asked. I had this debate with a coworker of mine who's a big football fanatic. And I asked him, I says, who does he feel is the greatest quarterback of all time?
Mm-hmm.
And TC, what the fuck are you doing up so late? You got a show in the morning.
TC's on the West Coast.
It's going to be my fault. But
T-
who do you
TC's
think
on
was
the West
who
Coast.
do you see as the greatest quarterback that you ever saw?
I'm not going to give it to Tom Brady for the reason of the deflated footballs. I'm going to give it to Joe Montana.
That's why we're friends.
Yeah.
I actually think Joe Montana, mainly for he's got his Super Bowl numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gotta be Montana. That was fucking perfect. He was perfect in the fucking Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know,
55
he
to
might
10
not
over
have.
Denver.
Yeah. And when I brought up Montana, my coworker, and he's young, he's 23, and he's like, yeah, but look how many that Brady got to. But he didn't win them all. If he was undefeated in the Super Bowl, yeah, I would give him the edge over Montana.
I would say Montana and Bradshaw's number 2.
Yeah, yeah, Bradshaw was awesome. There were so many, really. There have been a lot of good quarterbacks. I mean, I think the one that really got screwed was fucking Marino.
Oh God,
he's one that you could look back, that you wish you would have had one. You know what I mean? Like Mattingly for our team. You just wanted to have that one. I think Marino's in that category.
A lot. I see when you talk about the categories like Dan Marino, even though, and I'm going to go back to a Cowboys reference against Tony Romo, had some teams that basically that were top seeds and whatnot, but I think a lot of the Jerry Jones faux pas then were basically similar to what we're facing with Brian Cashman right now with the Yankees. The teams were just not constructed well enough. There was the year in 2009 when the Cowboys had a very depleted O-line in comparison to what Brett Favre and the Vikings had, which is why Vikings got past 35-3 in that divisional game over the Cowboys, and that was with Romo at quarterback. And a lot of that is roster construct. You look at the defensive.
Always coming back to roster construction.
Yeah, and if you look, and William M brings up Jim Kelly going to 4 Super Bowls. Yeah. Two of them against the Cowboys, 52-17 and 31-13 losses. He went to 4 straight. So Bills and Vikings basically share the same inglorious distinction there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's now I wonder because the one difference between baseball and football, right? And I'm not going to go into the whole George Carlin skit, right? We didn't even talk about comedians today, but you know the skit, the George Carlin skit, right?
Well, I've seen a couple of it. Not the one about baseball, but I've seen the one about boarding before you board, being called pre-boarding and whatever, and he goes off on
get on the plane. No, fuck you, I'm getting in the plane.
Yeah. And then part of that one was, please put your seat in the upright position. It is in the upright position. If it was any more upright, it would be a porno flick.
Yeah. So I was able to see George Carlin a few times live, and him and Richard Pryor are the fucking GOAT. Those two, they're GOAT 1 and GOAT 2. There's nobody better than those two together.
Actually, now that you bring up Richard Pryor, I got a funny thing for you. You almost got to picture both of these people together, and you got to be like, yeah, they could be either uncle or father and son. Look at Richard Pryor and Steve Harvey. Look at the facial resemblances between the two of them. And I'm not even talking about both of them having the same skin pigment or anything very stereotypical that way. I'm not even going in that direction. Just their facial structure, from a natural perspective, is almost resemblant. I'm just picturing it in my head. I mean, Steve Harvey is Richard Pryor without hair.
Yeah, if you guys follow me on Twitter tonight, I'm gonna tweet out the YouTube link of the baseball football skit. Because if you haven't seen it, it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
So, but So Neil, I think it's time that we call it a night here, because
Yeah,
it's I know for me it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and
yeah. I just have a couple of quick condolences for Jets
yep.
fans here. So basically,
Oh,
you're talking about
don't
no. This is
be
keeping
nice.
it very yeah. Nothing but nice. So basically, you're talking about how Rodgers went down on the fourth play of the game. This reminds me of a game right after I think it was the '95 or the '97 season where Vinny Testaverde went down to an Achilles heel injury similarly, and the old Meadowlands. Okay, and that was early in the first quarter too. I don't know if it was the fourth play or not, but the point is, they were both relatively early on in their game. So
Yeah,
tonight's situation of Rodgers going down the same way, it basically brought back memories, of me having seen that situation happen with Vinny Testaverde. So it just goes to prove one theory that you cannot count on the old, you know, over the hill stars to basically think that you're going to get automatic championships. So Jets fans, I feel, how your season's going, and I'm just hoping it doesn't go 116. I'm not being, a dick saying this. I'm actually being, wholeheartedly, sincere about this. I hope the Jets do not go 1-16. Secondly, my second condolences go out to Steve the Ass Smith, who basically says the Cowboys are an accident waiting to happen. I think what he really meant to say is Aaron Rodgers was the accident waiting to happen. I mean, and
no,
I'm
I think it was like the first time.
yeah. Stephen A. Smith is basically, he's friends with Jerry Jones, but he just likes to spite Cowboy fans a lot because to
So
him,
what?
what?
So what?
Yeah, he just likes to spite, but I'm fighting him back. That's all I'm saying.
No, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's
I had this on my mind, from the early part of the show when you touched upon the 9/11 stories and the never forget sentiments and all that. That was a matter of weeks before I moved to Dallas, actually, when that happened. And my dad was a civil engineer having two job sites, basically, one in the Bronx and one down on Rector Street, just blocks away from Ground Zero.
I
Luckily,
know that
he
street.
was not he was not at Rector Street that day. And you can imagine with the sad state of telecom that day, with phone lines being down, network, communication being cut off all over the place, trying to get in contact from here in Dallas to either my dad or anybody back home was, I still remember how daunting that was. Just you don't even know because the phone lines were so congested. The network itself, the telecom network, was just laggy, not up to date. You call it whatever you will. It was just one major inconvenience that basically it wasn't until 5:30 in the afternoon, maybe sometime even after 6 Central Time, that we finally got to touch base and realize that they were safe.
Yeah, I was on Canal Street when it happened. You
Yeah,
know,
and
I
I was
remember
just
I remember driving back over the Brooklyn Bridge into Brooklyn where I lived,
mhm,
and people jumping on my car.
mhm,
Just to get a ride back over. Out of the
mhm,
city.
mhm,
And nobody knew what was going on. And
mhm,
so I'm like,
mhm,
there's never been a time that I've never gone out of my way to help people.
mhm.
That day,
Oh yeah,
once I, you know, once the initial shock of everything wore off, I would have been one of those guys that was running into a building. Which is why, you know, I was, you know,
mhm,
you wanted to do something, but you didn't know what to do.
mhm,
You know what I
mhm.
mean? It's just
Yeah,
one of those. like if after high school, if I had gone into the military like I wanted to,
Hmm.
I probably would not be here because I would have ran to it.
Yeah.
I've never shied away from trying to help people, but it was some scary shit.
The
I
only
remember,
thing I can
you know,
the only thing I can remember before even understanding what a colleague of mine was saying. He's like, "Did you watch the news this morning?" I'm just like casually like, "No, what happened?" A plane just flew into the building in downtown Manhattan. That's all he said to me, and I'm just like, "Wait, what?" And then that people were bringing these old small,
yeah,
uh, rear, not even rear projection, but these small black and white portable TVs, which look like they had like an AM/FM radio attached to and whatever. Things you'd see like all the way back from like the late '80s into the '90s, or maybe even earlier. But there were
yeah,
like TVs all over the place, just playing any one of ABC, CBS, NBC, any of the local news channels were basically covering it all day. And my wife's family is in India. They were frantically just trying to reach us from there. And at that time, my wife was undergoing the uh, the visa paperwork basically to convert over from a spousal visa, whatever, to get on as a getting her employment authorization document, EAD, and a bunch of other permanent residency docs and whatever. So my her family didn't know too much about the U.S. culture at that point, and they were like, just forget about the work, forget about office, just go home. Their whole thing was their whole sentimentality was just basically like just get home to safety, just stay put.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
yeah, retire. Wow, yeah. It no, we all knew something was wrong, and you know, as much as hard as you can tell, and this isn't me losing my thought, Brad. It's really hard to go through,
Hmm.
year after year, but it's important to do it and to force the words to come out.
Yeah.
It's my son was born. It happened in September. My son was born that December.
Yeah.
And trying to think back. When you think back and you're like, when what was going on in the world when I was born. When your kids ask that question, you were born during a war. You know, and it's fucking scary. When you
I
have to when you have to think about it that way. It terrifies me as a parent. That my son had to be brought. Pretty much his whole life has just been war. His whole
my
childhood was based around everything that was going on in the aftermath of the towers.
So my family visited down at that's December of that same year when we first moved to Dallas. It was 2001, the same year of 9/11. And it was a month right after the whole shoe bomber incident. Literally, not even a month, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Shoe bomber thing took place in like late November, and that was on an international flight when somebody threatened to do that. About that whole incident and whatever. Um, so airport security and security just in general and the entire thing was just so tight. I mean, if you want to talk about, the things we have to face as an inconvenience now in a post-COVID world with all these threats and whatever of the virus escalating and whatever. Think about the orange alerts and the security alerts and all these things
Yeah,
that were driving people neurotic back then. I mean, each and every incident that we're facing brings a different level of inconvenience at some uh, point or other.
yeah. The one thing of solace that I get from that day was it's that was the last time this country was united.
Yeah.
Nobody cared about what
Hmm.
what your income was, who you voted for, what nationality you were, what religion you were, what your sexuality was. You didn't. Everybody was. That was the last time that we all looked at each other as one, as
Yeah.
Americans bonding
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And you think we would have learned from that,
Hmm.
not to not to why do we should know better than to divide ourselves, because that's when we're the most vulnerable as a nation. You don't have to agree with everything your neighbor says.
Hmm.
But part of the freedoms that these people fought for, and what these people tried to take away, was that we have that freedom to
Yeah.
disagree.
Yeah.
Remember that.
But
We don't
that.
have to agree on every fucking thing. We all, you guys all know in the chat, right? When we talk about sports on a daily basis, you
Hmm.
know, this guy should be a starter. This guy should be in the, not he's a bench player. Not trade him, sign him. Fuck you, fuck you. It's
Hmm.
we still at the end of every chat, every stream,
Hmm.
every get together, right? It's not stream. This is get together with friends. We all hug it out and be like, all right, see you next time.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow. You know that's something that I really love about this group.
Yeah. And
And
that whole unity that should we believe that should still exist. Many people would, look at you and think that, okay, that one area, that one aspect of unity basically went away because one or a group of people derived a conspiracy theory that basically became so dangerous on a political level that it basically sent things going backwards. So as much as a progress point as you want to make that 9/11 brought us together, that one activity or that one buildup basically just set it apart.
yeah,
And that's one thing that as much of one position that I take on that matter, I wish that matter never existed. Because that has taken away the entire concept of unity, community, moreover.
it was community.
Yes.
Because everybody had a neighbor that knew somebody
Yeah.
that was lost, not found, or never
Mhm.
found.
Yeah.
And you mourned every day
Hmm.
in the on the morning news or in the morning paper of all the names. You know, but
Think
it's
of, so I brought up the shoe bomber incident that took place after 9/11, like back in November.
yeah,
There was one domestic, not a domestic flight, but a nearshore international flight. I think it was heading to Honduras. It was an American Airlines flight 587. People in New York may remember this. The whole aftermath was basically attributed for this incident on the pilot's, you know, hastiness to take off. Apparently there's a protocol in the aviation industry. You're supposed to wait for the previous flight to, achieve a certain distance. And there's a lot of physics and other science that basically go into this matter of creating, a turbulent airspace from the back exhaust that comes out of these airplanes. So basically, this guy, the pilot was like, okay, no, I think we got it. I think we have enough time. Well, we can go ahead and take off. He went and took off. Next thing you know, they were caught in some sort of a jet wash. It was similar again to scenes you've seen from a Top Gun movie where the plane is basically sent spinning out of control. Except this was not spinning out of control; it was trembling and you can see the wings basically just flap like this, how my hands are going. The tailspin and the tail fin in the back basically snapped off mid-flight. It left the plane after that spinning round and round in circles, losing altitude at a crazy. It's a jet wash. There you go. Yeah, retired war vet. Fill out
Yeah.
the proper terminology. Thank you. So basically, it was left spinning out of control. People in nearby Rockaway, I think it was Rockaway Beach, Far Rockaway. I'm not sure exactly, but it
Yeah.
was somewhere in Queens. People saw this thing coming down, and it led to a lot of like feeling of neuroticness because we were, 9/11 was still fresh on our minds, barely 45 to 60 days after the fact. And I'm here watching this from Dallas happen, over there and hearing about it on the news. There's a lot of documentaries on this on YouTube you can watch. They're like 45 minutes to an hour long, and it's awesome. Just watching that.
But yeah, I mean, I'll close it out with this,
Yeah.
and may the souls of those brave people shine down on their family, and just remember they're smiling, not that you're not there, because they'll see you again.
Yeah.
And this has been not the way that I thought it would end for the show, but very fitting,
Hmm.
and I look forward to having tomorrow with all of you.
Yeah. The souls
So
of who have departed, they may not be amongst us, but they are still in spirit watching us from the heavens above.
yeah,
So the mental state that we all need to achieve here, our thought pattern needs to be, they are still with us in spirit. We still think and remember about them day in and day out. We just have this annual remembrance on this somber day of September 11th every year to basically, it basically hits home because this is the anniversary of that dreadful day. And people who are like in my situation, when you're 4-digit number of miles away from home and you have no way to contact home, and you're in a state of total distress all day where you can't even get your work done. You can't even go about your day in a normal way.
and yeah, I'm not gonna do. I'm gonna give a different sign off.
Yeah.
I love you
Yeah.
all, and we will talk again. And God bless you all. Good night.
Yep. Thank you.